points. Moving into this question of mob justice, I know that many of us have been following these issues that have been cropping up, and now I think more are also being reported because we have a relatively freer media. So I was wondering if you have thoughts on whether the rates of mob justice are also rising. Is there an actual uptick? And how do we prevent people from taking law into their own hands, and what are some of the pitfalls of that?
Right. So it's actually very difficult to answer with any empirical certainty whether crime or mob justice has increased in Bangladesh, and that's primarily because we don't have the required statistics to make that kind of comparative analysis. I mean, mob justice statistics aren't really that common, but crime statistics are. And sadly, the Awami League regime had stopped publishing crime statistics on the police website after 2019, presumably after they found that researchers were putting that to use to criticize the law and order situation. So what we're sort of left with is our sense of crime rates is very much driven by news reports. So the more certain cases get reported on, the more we think they're happening, but we don't actually know if that is reflective of the actual increase in crime rates or incidences, or it's just that now a particular media house has chosen to report on that crime for whatever reason. Usually it has to do with some reasons of sensationalism and being able to monetize from increased public interest in a particular issue. And also, not to mention, now they're enjoying a level of freedom of expression that has been unprecedented for at least the past a decade or so. So there are a number of variables here which could contribute to this perception of increase. But going back to the question of mob justice, I mean, again, it sort of is linked to I think there's something intuitive about wanting to resolve wrong within the space where the wrong happened. And that's where, so that intuition in itself is not like something problematic. So that is actually the intuition which would allow for restorative justice to be made possible or palatable to the public. What's wrong is when the people want to resolve the crime or wrongdoing within the community it has occurred, but do not have the options to do it in a manner that is rights compliant, because there are no formal restorative justice mechanisms available. So then they sort of take matters into their own hands because they have no trust that the police or the court will be able to deliver what is considered fair or a just outcome. And they have good reasons to suspect that, right? Because by and large, public trust in the judiciary has reached an all-time low because of the way that it was weaponized again by the former regime. So we must acknowledge that it's not just there are the context which makes mob justice a sort of an appealing option. We must contextualize it, but of course, what can never be the case is people taking a law into their own hands and taking the life of another, which is what we've seen happen in certain cases where someone suspected of causing theft has been beaten, but later it was found out that the village elders who instructed his killing were actually demanding 20,000 taka from his family, and his family refused to pay, and that's when they decided to kill him. So that points to a darker reality, right? It's not some ragtag bunch of people who got so angry and killed him. It's very much, there's an industry here. There are people who make money out of informal arbitration, and when that monetary incentive is denied or suppressed, they then punish because they can. So that's another piece of the puzzle we need to figure out, and why it's important to sort of have a list of offenses. If they're not so serious that they need to go to court, allow them to be resolved within the community through restorative justice processes. If they're very severe, like murder, rape, and other forms of offenses which requires the state's intervention, then divert those to the court and the formal justice system, but again in a manner that is rights respecting. So that is how most modern legal systems are attempting to deal with strike a good balance between formal and informal justice mechanisms.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very important perspectives. And I think rights and dignity have to be at the center of all of this. So thanks for underscoring